What's going on? This is Big G from G Riders, and welcome to another episode of Testing Rides. Today, I'm going to be testing out a 2018 Kia Stinger GT. Welcome to the 2018 Kia Stinger GT. Introduced for the 2018 model year, this was Kia's first attempt at a luxury fun-to-drive sedan. And in my opinion, I think they did it right. They grabbed the platform from Genesis, they grabbed the engine from Genesis, they slapped it in one of their most attractive designs they've ever done so far to date, to make this car a very hot, very popular and desirable car to grab, and especially for what you're getting for the price point. So the Kia Stinger is very unique in this class because it comes in a lift. This car is actually a liftback. It may look like a sedan and have kind of a sleek sedan-like body style, but it's actually a hatchback, and that kind of makes this. That's going to make this car a lot more popular in the market because, you know, since everybody's looking more like at hatchbacks and wagons and SUVs nowadays, Kia did the best thing they could have ever did for this car by making it a hatchback. And this car does kind of directly compete with classic cars like the BMW 440 Grand Coupe and the Audi A5 Sportback. But the difference between this car and those cars is the simple fact that you're only getting their four-cylinder variants for kind of this $50,000 price point, and this car has over like 110 or 20 plus horsepower over those four-cylinder variants. The 2018 Kia Stinger GT comes with a twin-turbo 3.3 liter V6, making 365 horsepower and 376 foot-pounds of torque. It does weigh about 4,000 pounds, but due to the weight and the kind of the power that this car makes, it only gets about 19 in the city and 25 out on the highway. But, you know, considering that you're getting close to 400 horsepower in this, yes, it's 365. That's close enough to 400 horsepower. Just round up there. Considering you're getting that amount of power and all-wheel drive, you know, makes this car a very attractive package. So let's talk about the most important part about this car to separate this car from its German rivals is the price point. So this is a standard Kia Stinger GT, no GT1 or GT2 or nothing like that. This is the basic Kia Stinger GT with all-wheel drive. And as this one sits, this doesn't have a whole lot of options on it, but it has a lot of good standard effects, a lot of standard equipment. This does come in at about $45,000 to $46,000 considering where you're getting it and all that stuff. For $46,000, you're getting nearly 400 horsepower. You're getting all-wheel drive. You're getting a nice, big, comfortable sedan. It's a hatchback, so it has the lift gate. You can put a lot of stuff in that. You know, I feel like that's a very reasonable price for a car like this, and that's kind of where I feel like it's kind of outperforms its German rivals. So if you start looking at cars like the BMW 440i with the X-Drive, of course, and you start looking at the Audi S5 Sportback, you're looking at like $60,000 to $65,000 for that. And you know, those two cars don't have more power than this. This is still a faster car even with that. But you know, since it's being the basic GT, this can't go up more in options, but even a fully loaded version of this car is still a better deal than getting one of the German rivals. Like, this car tops out at about like $50 plus thousand. Yes, $50,000 is quite a lot for a Kia, but you know, you're still gonna be doing a lot better off getting loaded up one of these versus getting, you know, a super base model 440 or a super base model S5. Yes, you do get a lot of stuff in that, but you don't get nearly as much equipment as that. So let's go ahead and hop inside the car and take a look at some of the standard equipment that this car has. Welcome to the interior of the 2018 Kia Stinger GT. When first getting into this car, the first thing I noticed is how great this car looks on the inside. Like, it doesn't feel that Kia-ish to me. Honestly, like, it feels like a luxury sedan. Like, the seats are quite comfortable. Everywhere you kind of touch and feel, it feels pretty quality. I mean, this is the basic GT, so there are a couple cheap plastics. So like the plastics that are up here around the screen and like everything like that, it's a little bit cheap, but for the most part, like, everything you touch and you feel in this car feels like a quality product, which I'm very glad the Kia's been doing nowadays, especially with the car that costs as much as this one, because you know that'd be unacceptable for this car to be looking terribly built at this price point. So let's go ahead and fire it up and kind of see everything come to life. All right, so before I start talking about anything with the interior, first thing I gotta say is look at this key. This key fob is probably one of the best key fobs out there. So to unlock the car, there's a button right there. To lock it, it's like a detonator switch for like a bomb or something like that. And then you have all your trunk and your panic buttons on the side there. But this car has comfort access, so nobody ever like uses these buttons to lock and unlock the car. But if I had this car, I would just do it just because this is very cool. So just looking with everything on, turning everything on. So since this one is the basic GT, it doesn't come with any full color displays or anything like that. And I feel like the GT should have came with that stuff, but you know, that's just my opinion with it. So it just looks like a basic, like a Kia Optima or like a Kia Soul or anything like that. Like the instrument clusters, it's simple, it's plain, but it's fine. And the infotainment system is your average Kia, typical Kia fashion. Like the infotainment systems in Kias are very good now. I mean, they do come with Apple CarPlay and Android Auto, and you know, they're easy to use, which I'm glad that they're not trying to do nothing crazy or polarizing with the infotainment system. So moving around the interior of the car, I really like the gloss black and the silver accent contrast. It makes the car look very high quality. I like the simple fact that, you know, the shifter feels really nice in your hands here. This car has auto hold, which I really like. You know, the auto hold feature where you come to a car, you press the button, you press the auto hold button, and you can just help the brake and the car hold itself there. That's pretty nice. You know, that's the whole name of the game with this car. It feels and it looks like a car that belongs way higher up market than it kind of actually sits. And I know that they're trying to compete this car against stuff like the Audi and the BMW, and just sitting in this car, kind of feeling everything, feeling all the paddle shifters feel like nice, or like they feel like metal paddle shifters, which I always like. You know, I could see the price point of this car. It makes sense. This car is very nice in here. Like, it's very comfortable. You guys know I'm a big guy. Like, I'm over 6 feet tall and over 350 pounds, and I'm very comfortable. The seats have nice support. They set you nice and low with a nice driving position. We can see out of all the mirrors and windows clearly. There is a bit of a blind spot, but we'll kind of go through all that when we go on the driving portion. So before we go out on the road, let's go ahead and check out the cargo space of the 2018 Kia Stinger. All right, welcome to the back seat of this Kia Stinger, and this is my comfortable seating position in this car. And as you can see, there is literally no space back here. Like, because this car is all-wheel drive, it did have to have the big, you know, drive shaft that goes through the middle, of course. But that's what kind of makes this car compete with the 3 Series, is the simple fact that even though it looks a little bit bigger, it looks like a big car, the back seats are suffered, but that's what makes the front seats a lot more comfortable. So I'm gonna slide the seat up a little bit so I can get back here. All right, I'm in the back seat here of the Stinger. I had to slide the seat up a little bit to where someone of a normal height would drive, and there's a decent amount of space back here. As you can see, like, my head does touch up here because kind of the sloping rear end of this car. My feet don't fit under the seats because there's subwoofers under there, and that also makes the sound system good. But you know, the back seat's okay. Like, I wouldn't want to ride in the back seat being my height, my size, but it's not that bad for a normal sized person. So this car does have a USB port in the back, and in your typical 12 volt cigarette lighter type charger back here. And you do have a center armrest with some cup holders, and it looks like a center pass through here. So, like, you know, this car can accommodate backseat passengers pretty well. All right, now we have done that, let's go ahead and get on the road and see how this bad boy drives, because that's the most important part about this car. sport mode.
Sport mode. And hold that button down for 5 seconds. Alright.
Let me go get off the grab a little more.
You just hold the brake down. Yep.
Oh my god. Oh my god. Oh shit. Oh, I'm going to have to beat this out, but oh my god. All right, welcome to the 2018 Kia Stinger driving portion. All right, let's hop out on this road and see how this thing handles. All right, let's do just a quick little pull here. Oh my god. Oh my god. Whoa, that was pretty quick. So, welcome to the 2018 Kia Stinger GT review. As you can see, when you first get out in this thing is freaking fast. Like, I do gotta admit though, this one does have a piggyback tune on it, and it has an intake and no mufflers, and that's why it sounds so good. But if a simple piggyback tune can make this thing accelerate like that, oh my god. This is a pretty fast car. How's this car to drive? Well, what I can say about this car's driving characteristics, it drives just like a German car would. It's very comfortable on the road. Like, the ride it has the right amount of stiffness to it. Excuse me. It has the right amount of stiffness to it to make it very fun in the corners, but it's not stiff or jarring. So, like, driving this thing on the highway, you'll get annoyed by how harsh the ride is. The steering feels pretty nice, actually. It feels almost as good as the steering that's in my GTI. And being my GTI, being a car that's before kind of the heavily overly boosted steering, like a lot of modern cars has, that's a big compliment for especially a car that's 4,000 pounds and this big. That never gets old, and that, mind you people, that was like half throttle. Like, this thing is crazy fast. So the one thing that I do like, the one thing that stands out to me with this Stinger is, like I said, how European it feels. You know how you can get in a German car and find a good driving position just like that? This Kia Stinger was just like that. I hopped in here, did a few little small adjustments to the seat, and it's like perfect. Like, I don't need to adjust the seat at all. Like, there's some times where some cars I drive where I'm like, I probably could slide this back or bring it forward or raise it up more, and this car, I don't need to do that. So, like, going through these corners here, I'm not pushing other people's car hard through corners, but like with the all-wheel drive system and the steering feel and the platform setup, this car is very confidence inspiring in these corners. And I'll have to get a vehicle that's not owned by somebody to really push this one hard, but from what I can feel, it's very nice. One thing a car like this is important to me is the transmission, and the transmission in the Kia Stinger is pretty good. Like, it shifts pretty quickly. It's just missing kind of like the shift noises that you'll get from something like a dual clutch or the ZF 8-speed transmission. But even though it's not like a dual clutch or a ZF, it's still like pretty quick. So let me kick it over into manual mode here. This was downshifts. Like, that's still quick enough, but I would like to hear some of those DSG fartish sounds in the shifts. I think that'd kind of add a little bit more character to this car, and maybe it wouldn't kill them to engineer in some fake cracks and bangs. I know some people don't like that, but in this kind of classic car, I feel like that will go a long way, especially because this car is marketed mainly at millennials and things like that. So I think it wouldn't kill them to add that in. So, just driving this car, is there anything that I don't like? Not so much, to be honest. Like, I feel like that it'd be nice to see like an all digital cockpit, like Audi style or something like that, or, you know, a bigger screen. But honestly, I think that's something that's solved with the higher spec in this car. But I just wish that since you're buying kind of the big engine car, I feel like Kia should, you know, give you a little bit more bang for the buck and throw in some more stuff, even with this being kind of the base model car. But that's just me. So, turning around here, I'm noticing the turn radius is not great.
No, not really. It's a pretty long car.
Yeah.
Pretty wide wheelbase.
Yeah, its turning radius is not great. This is like It's not quite bad as my Nissan Maxima that I had. I had an O2 Maxima, and people who have seen or driven or owned the O2 Maxima, you know, turn radius is not their strong point at all. They have the turn radius of a bus. And, you know, this has probably a turn radius of like one of the short buses, but it's not, it's bad, but it's not O2 Nissan Maxima bad. But you gotta remember too, this is a long car, like you said, long wheelbase. It has a nice squat. But the one thing with this car, like just seeing this thing drive, this car has some road presence. And you know, I thought I would never say that about a Kia ever. A Kia having road presence when it's driving along. It just looks so aggressive, you know, carving up the going through the corners, and just driving. It just looks really good. One thing I gotta say too is like very good. That's very good about this car is these brakes. So as you'll see in the clip here, this car does have Brembo brakes that are 4-piston in the front and 2 in the back.
Yeah.
So they got some bite. They have some bite. Like when you stand on these brakes, you might go through the windshield. And you know, with a car that is as fast as this, you need good brakes. So, Jamie, what made you choose this car over any other car you could have bought?
Well, I wanted something different. I wanted something fast, something that had character, and something that wasn't you wouldn't see a lot on the road.
Right.
And that's why I seen this on a show, and I was like, well, I have to have it. And I thought about it for a week. I was like, I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna buy it, and I don't regret it at all.
Yeah. So when I originally heard about the Kia Stinger, I was quite excited about it when I first heard about this car being launched, because it's going to be the first kind of 4-door sports car Kia that has a hatchback, which is like, you know, me, I love hatchbacks and wagons, so this car should check off every single box that I would want in a car. But I was a little apprehensive when I seen the price point. I was just like, starting at $46,000. I was like, ooh, for the big engine one, ugh, I don't know about all that. Now I've driven it, this car is definitely, the GT is definitely worth the 45 grand that this costs. Because if you're looking at a twin turbo V6 or something, or a higher horsepower car that's in this class, you're going to be looking at about $60,000, $50,000 or $60,000. And with that, I'm talking about both the 440 Grand Coupe and the Audi S5 Sportback. And you definitely, and you're like, for the 46 grand, you're getting this motor, and you're also getting a lot more features than you would get on either of those cars. Like, this car has all the full safety systems, like the blind spot monitoring, the radar cruise control, the front assist, rear parking sensors, all that stuff that you would want, all the safety equipment that you would want. And I know with both the BMW and the Audi, you gotta check those boxes. You don't just get it from the factory, you know. So I'm sure you've seen, like, you know, I don't know if you've looked into it at all, like what the competitors costs. It's like, especially with this price point, like with the 400 horsepower with this tune, like you're looking at, like, you're starting to get close to like M3 and 4 type of power, you know what I mean? Right. So like for 46 grand. So these cars do go up to $50,000 plus. In my opinion, I don't think this car is worth $50,000 plus. 55 grand I think is kind of the GT2 with every option checked. And I understand that car is going to be probably very nice and very fast, but between the $40,000 to $45,000 price point should have been kind of their Kia's goal for the max out, in my opinion. I think they should have gave you everything for that $46,000. Would you agree?
Yeah, I do agree.
There's no doubt about it that this isn't a good car, but you know, at $50,000 or $60,000, you might as well start looking at the German rivals.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So, and also I feel like this car belongs in the Genesis, under the Genesis brand, because this is a Genesis platform, and this kind of it aims at kind of a Genesis market of customers. But, and I know like the Kia badge holds people back from even looking at the car. You know what I mean? Right. How can you walk into a Kia dealership, look at this, and then right next to it there's a, you know, $13,000 Kia Rio? Mm-hmm. You're like, ooh. I know they try to keep the Rios away from these, but it's hard not to see it. You know what I mean? Yeah. But just from this drive that I've had with this car, the time I spent with this car, I definitely think that, you know, this is a great option if you're looking for something with 4 doors and that's fast and fun, that looks great, and that's different. That's the main thing, is it's different. You know, you see tons and tons and tons of BMWs on the road, tons of Audis on the road. You don't see a whole lot of these yet. Well, especially up here in Oregon. I think maybe California might be a different story.
Yeah.
But up here in Oregon, this is a kind of a rare car to see. Like, I typically only see these like at the dealerships, really.
Right.
And you know, if you're looking for a fast, fun to drive car that looks great, that has the utility of a hatchback, you know, with all-wheel drive, and you know, not to mention this car does have that 10-year, 100,000 mile warranty like a Kia normally should have.
Yeah.
You know, you can't beat this. Nobody, its competitors cannot beat this. The only thing holding this car back is that Kia badge.
Right.
And honestly, I think that is a bunch of BS. You shouldn't let that badge hold you back. You should go get yourself a 2018 Kia Stinger.